Thor Ragnarok is the Marvel Cinematic Universe's latest movie, and it's directed by Taika Waititi, and it stars Luke Hemsworth, Sam Neill and Matt Damon. Thor Ragnarok is the latest movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it's directed by Taika Waititi, and it stars Chris Hemsworth, Cate Blanchett, Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, Tessa Thompson and loads of other stars. Now what sets this movie apart from the first two Thor movies is it expands the Marvel Cinematic Universe again, and it goes on the same grounds as Guardians of the Galaxy and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It shows that the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't just grounded on Earth, it's wider than that, it's the universe. Now going into this movie, it was advertised in the same style as Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's not a bad thing because Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 were very successful, and I think it was kind of riding the wave, and it done it quite well. It had adverts in the kind of 80s style. Even the Thor Ragnarok title is a throwback to the 80s, and the movie does ooze 80s in it. The score for this movie, which I'm actually going to get, it oozes the 80s. It's that kind of electro techno 80s music, and it was played throughout the whole movie, especially the action sequences. The action sequences reminded me of Kung Fury, the short movie. There was a Kickstarter project from a Swedish director. It reminded me of that, kind of the Barbarella and the big dog, and everything was that kind of style. It was that kind of grey overtone that the movie had to it. Now apart from the grey overtone, and this is what I liked about the cinematography, you get a scene where it was grey, and then you get a very colourful scene when they're on Asgard or on the other planet that the Grand Master was on. It changed depending on where they were, and it was really well done. Thor Ragnarok felt like a completely different movie from the first two. Not saying it's a good thing, not saying it's a bad thing, but we were introduced to a lot more characters. We did see the older characters in the movie as well, but it kind of sidestepped them to introduce us to the newer characters like Hela and Scourge, Korg, the Grand Master, all those characters, and Valkyrie. They were all introduced in a good way. They all had their moments when they get introduced on screen for the first time. Now I don't claim to know anything about comic books. Everyone thinks I'm a comic book geek, which I'm actually not. I've never read a comic book in my life. I do love Marvel and I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so I don't know the background of all these characters and if they are similar or the exact same as the comic books themselves. But I was quite surprised when I found out who certain characters were. And again, I'm not sure if those characters were the same as in the comic books, so it's something I won't spoil for you, if indeed it is a spoiler. Now Marvel's not known for giving us great villains. In fact, the only great villain we had in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far is Loki, and that came from a Thor movie. And I would say that Hela was also a great villain. Every time Cate Blanchett was on screen, she was very menacing, but you couldn't keep your eyes off her as well. She's looking very good for a 47-year-old. The action sequences that Hela was in as well, they were really well done, and one thing that was a negative for me was we didn't see enough of Hela, and we didn't see enough of what she can do, because from what I saw, she could do a hell of a lot. You could definitely see that the take on Thor Ragnarok was more comedy than the first two movies, obviously because of the influence of the director, Taika Waititi. He did direct What We Do in the Shadows, and that was a kind of serious comedy, and this was kind of similar as well. You can tell it's him that's directing the movie, and he actually does star in the movie as well. He is Korg in the movie. He does the voice and the movements of Korg, and throughout we get a lot of comedy as well. But the thing about this comedy compared to the Avengers and Avengers Age of Ultron is it's not forced comedy, it's actually natural comedy, and because it was so natural and flowing, you actually laughed more. Whereas you could tell in Avengers and Age of Ultron and other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, especially Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, the jokes were very forced and they fell flat most of the time. But in Ragnarok, it made fun of itself in a good way. And I wasn't one for thinking that Chris Hemsworth or Tom Hiddleston or even Mark Ruffalo were funny actors, but in this, the director brings out the comedy in them, and they were very well timed, the jokes were well timed, and the movements, everything that they'd done was very funny, and it was actually surprising. One thing I will say about the storyline, like I said before, it kind of fell flat on its face sometimes because we see the exact same story all over again. We've got a bad person that turns up, they've known some of the cast from their previous life, and then they bring this army from the dead, and that's when they attack, and that's when a group of guys come together and they fight the bad guys, and there's beams of light coming up and down from the sky. So it's very generic in the sense of the same story, but it was done in a fun way. I will say the person that stole the show and the whole entire movie for me personally was Korg. Every time he was on screen, every time he spoke, it was hilarious. Even when he wasn't even trying to be funny, he was really funny. And again, I'm not a comic book man and I don't know the history of Korg and his accent, or if he was lightly spoken, but in this movie he was lightly spoken, he was very comedic, and you could tell he was from New Zealand in this movie. And one thing that the director did do, he did have a lot of New Zealand influence in this film. I noticed a few characters and a few actors that had a New Zealand accent. Another aspect of this movie that was quite surprising was that it's not a Planet Hulk movie. A lot of people are going into this thinking it's a Planet Hulk movie. It's completely not a Planet Hulk movie at all. Yes, he does wear his armour and he does fight in the movie with his armour on, but that's just a few scenes and that's done with. It's not a Hulk movie whatsoever at all. It's completely a Thor movie. I thought a lot of the action was near the beginning and the middle of the movie. There is action at the end and there is a finale at the end, and it does have good action in it, but I think the best action sequences in this film were near the beginning and the middle of the movie, especially the ones that involve Hela when she's fighting against everyone herself. That was a very intense and amazingly done scene. There's a few cameos in this movie as well from actors that I never thought would be in this movie at all, and it was quite well hidden until this movie came out. Also, like I mentioned before, there are old cast members that have come back and they were in it for a very short period of time, and that was quite surprising the way they were sent off. Thor and Thor the Dark World are not the best Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in the universe whatsoever, but I do think that Thor was good. Personally, I think the Dark World is a little bit better, and I'm going to say that Thor Ragnarok was a little bit better than the Dark World as well, but it's not saying much. It's not saying it's the best movie ever, but it is better than the first two movies. So with all that being said, guys, I'm going to give Thor Ragnarok a B. And one quick word before I go, guys, is there is 2 end credit scenes for the movie, so stay behind for that. There is a mid credit scene, as there usually is, and there's also an end credit scene as well. Make sure you stay behind for both of them, because both of them are good in 2 different ways. The mid credit scene sets us up for another movie, and the end credit scene is just a bit of comedy, but again it's quite funny to stay behind for. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for watching again, thanks for subscribing, I'll see you soon, bye bye.